This is an Andy's Randomness special report. Reporting now, Andy Pollock.
There we go. All right, good morning, everyone. This is Andy's Randomness live from the Random Studio in Fresh Meadows, New York. We are waiting for Governor Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo's daily COVID-19 briefing. If you are not aware of what happened in New York City this morning, Mayor Bill de Blasio announced that all New York City schools are closed for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year, effective immediately. So as at the moment right now, we're assuming that New York City public schools will reopen sometime in September. Let's hope that that's the case, of course, because we don't need children starting a brand new school year, not being in their proper school buildings, of course. Right now, I'm trying to get the live feed from the state of New York. News 12 yesterday really wasn't accurate with them breaking in. So we are going to be waiting for New York Governor Cuomo. Just quick. Oh, he's coming right now. Here he is.
Happy Saturday. Who's enjoying Holy Week? We wish them a happy Passover. And a holy Saturday. Easter is tomorrow, big day. Let's go through where we are right now. The good news is the curve of the increase is continuing to flatten. The number of hospitalizations appears to have hit an apex, and the apex appears to be a plateau, which is what many of the models predicted, that it wasn't going to be a straight up and straight down. It was going to be a straight up. You hit the top number, and then you plateau for a period of time, and that looks like what we are doing. The hospitalization rate is down, and that's important. We have more people getting infected still. We have more people going into the hospitals, but we have a lower number. That's all this is saying, is fewer people are going into the hospitals, still net positive. The 3-day average, which is what we look at, because day-to-day can be somewhat deceiving, especially when you get towards the weekend, because the weekend reporting gets a little different, but all the numbers are on the downward slope. Still, people getting infected, still people going into the hospital, but again, a lower rate of increase. The number of ICU admissions is down. The 3-day average on ICU admissions is down. This is a little deceptive because at one time hospitals had discrete ICU wards or ICU beds. Effectively now in a hospital, all the beds are ICU beds. It's like the entire hospital has turned into an ICU facility. So this distinction is actually, I don't know how enlightening this is. This, however, is still a discrete category, the increase in the number of intubations. And as we've discussed, the intubations are a bad sign from a health diagnostic perspective. And when we talk about the number of deaths, those tend to be people who've been intubated for the longest period of time. So while ICU beds may not mean anything anymore in the hospital system, intubations are still intubations. And this is a very good sign that the intubations are down. We were worried about the spread from New York City to Long Island and upstate. If you look at the bar chart, you can see almost a wave where it did start to move. We have been working very hard in Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, Rockland, which are the surrounding suburbs to New York City. And so far, we've had hot spots, but we've attacked them aggressively. And we believe that we have stabilized the situation upstate and in the suburbs, which is what you see in that chart. Terrible news is the number of lives lost. 783 yesterday. That is not an all-time high, and you can see that the number is somewhat stabilizing, but it is stabilizing at an horrific rate. 783 people, 777, 799. These are just incredible numbers, depicting incredible loss and pain that we really, especially this week, all 783 individuals and their families are in our thoughts and in our prayers. Total number of lives lost, 8,627. That's up from 7,844. People ask, well, when is it over? When is it over? When it is over? And my children ask that every day. I'm sure everyone's living with the same question. Every time you wake up, you say, when does this nightmare end? And everybody wants to hear that it ends in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, or here's a date that I can tell you that it's over. Just give me some certainty, some closure, some control of my life back. But I also said from day one, and when I raised my hand to take the oath originally, I would never tell you anything but the truth, even if the truth is inconvenient or painful. Winston Churchill is a hero of mine. His granddaughter, Edwina Sands, sent me a portrait, a tribute to Winston Churchill, and I thank her for that. But Winston Churchill said, now, this is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. It's just a great Churchill quote. You know, it's precise in how he uses language. I think that's a fair statement of where we are now. This is the beginning that we are in. This was a beginning phase. We're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to adjust. But it's the end of that beginning phase. What do we do now? We stay the course. What we're experiencing is a product of our actions, period. We do something different, you will see a different reaction in those numbers. Everyone wants to turn to the question of when do we reopen? I get it. I think the first caution for me is, as we enter this new phase of reopen, when do we do it? How do we do it? This person's opinion is here, this person's opinion is here. The best thing we have done to date is we have kept politics out of the discussion. Even though this is a hyper-partisan time, even though we're in the middle of a presidential election, even though it's one of the ugliest political periods I can recall, we have kept politics out of this crisis. And I've worked very hard to do that. I've worked very hard to keep myself out of the politics. I have no personal politics, not running for anything. I'm governor of New York, thank you, and that's where I'm going to stay. I've worked very hard with the President of the United States. We've had our political differences in the past, no doubt. But there's also no doubt that I've worked hand in glove with the President here. And he has been responsive to New York and responsive to New York's needs, and he's done it quickly and he's done it efficiently. I've literally had conversations with him in the morning where he turned around a decision by that afternoon. I've been in the federal government. I know what it's like to make a decision. And he has really responded to New York's needs. So keep politics out of it. Focus on government and focus on policy and keep politics out of it. It's very hard, especially at this time. And you start to hear this dialogue on reopening, and you start to hear people with political theories on whether we should reopen faster, whether we should reopen sooner, why are people against reopening, why are people in favor of reopening. That is corrosive and destructive, and if we don't stop it, it will feed on itself. There are no political conspiracies here. All the projection models have basically said the same thing. Everyone has basically said the same thing, which is, first of all, no one has been here before. Second of all, everyone, all the experts, I didn't have an opinion because I'm not an expert, all the experts had higher projection numbers than we actually experienced. And they all said, caveat, government action could flatten the curve, but we don't know what governments will do, and we don't know if people will even listen to what governments will do. But almost all the experts, when you go back and look at it, had the same basic heightened fears. From the New York State projection point of view, Columbia University, highly credible organization, 136,000 New York City only. McKinsey, great organization, 110,000 statewide, 55,000 on a moderate level. Gates, 73,000. Gates funded, IHME, 73,000 statewide. The Gates funded model, I think, is the one that the White House most relies on now, currently. All of those models were projections. They all said, depending on what people do, not even government, what people wind up doing. But it wasn't just these academic private organizations. The White House task force was talking about 1.5 to 2.2 million deaths without mitigation. With mitigation, they were projecting 100 to 240,000 deaths as the best case scenario. This is the White House task force. The actual estimate has now been adjusted down, but they're still at 60,000 deaths that they're projecting. The Peter Navarro White House memo was talking about loss of life, 1 to 2 million souls. 1 to 2 million souls, infecting as many as 100 million Americans. CDC was talking about 160 million to 214 million people infected. The whole population is only 328 million. So the CDC was projecting that more than half the population would be infected. They were talking about 2.4 million to 21 million people being hospitalized. We only have 925,000 beds in the United States of America. How would you hospitalize 2.4 million to 21 million people? And that was the CDC. So, there was no political conspiracy theory. There is no political conspiracy theory. It's uncharted waters for all of us. So let's focus on the facts, let's focus on the data, and let's make decisions that way. And also, if someone says, well, CDC was wrong, and the White House Task Force is wrong, and Peter Navarro is wrong, and Columbia is wrong, and Cornell is wrong, and McKinsey is wrong, and the Gates funded IHME, they were all wrong. If I'm representing them, I say it's too soon to tell. It's too soon for Monday quarterbacking because the game isn't even over yet. What do you think we're in? 6th inning for baseball? You think we're halftime if it's a football game? You don't know yet what the actual issue is going to be. And you don't know yet how this turns out because many decisions have to be made. You have to reopen. You have to decide how to reopen. You have to decide when to reopen. And that is going to be impactful. We don't know if there's going to be a second wave or not. All of these things are yet to come. So anyone who wants to say, well, here's the score at halftime, and I'm going to now claim that, try to collect my bet because it's halftime. It doesn't work that way. The game has to be over, and this game isn't over. What do we do now? Well, we need to do more testing and more advanced testing, and we have to do it faster. That's both the diagnostic testing, that's the antibody testing, but we have to get better at both, and we have to be able to create a higher volume faster. We have to be more prepared. We should never go through what we went through on this preparation drill. The federal stimulus bill is going to be key, and that legislation, in my opinion, has to be better than the past legislation. It has to be less political, less pork barrel, and more targeted to the actual purpose. You want to help the places that were impacted? I'll tell you what the federal legislation should do. It should repeal SALT. You want to help New York, which was the most heavily impacted? And by the way, you think you're going to reopen the economy without the engine of the New York metropolitan area? You're kidding yourself. You want to help New York? You want to help the places that are affected? Then repeal the SALT provision, which was a gratuitous, offensive, illegal, in my opinion, action to begin with, but which literally targeted New York and some of these places, Michigan, Detroit, California. Repeal that if you really want to help places that are affected. And to my delegation, they know this issue very well, as does the California delegation, as does the Michigan delegation. That's what you can do if you actually want to stop with the politics and help people. In the meantime, here you're going to have many people who are struggling, many businesses who are struggling. We have government programs, yeah, but trying to access a government program is like trying to break into a bank sometimes, right? It's not that easy. The New York State court system and our chief judge is going to organize lawyers statewide to do pro bono legal assistance to help people with issues they may have housing issues, access to government program issues, etc. And many legal issues are going to stem from this, and many places where people need help. So lawyers who have time on their hands, who are not working, they are looking for volunteers. And most of all, we have to think before we act. These are all big decisions. Reopening is both a public health question and an economic question, and I'm unwilling to divorce the two. There is no economic answer that does not attend to public health. In my opinion, you can't ask the people of this state or this country to choose between lives lost and dollars gained. No one is going to make that quid pro quo. I understand the need to bring back the economy as quickly as possible. I understand people need to work. I also know we need to save lives, and we have. And one cannot be at the expense of the other. As we look forward, I'm still troubled by what we just went through. If no one sounded the alarm in January and February, how do we know that it's safe to proceed now? There are stories and there is information that says some of these places that reopened too quickly are now seeing a growth in the number of cases. They're seeing a growth in the infection rate again, or they're seeing a second wave. So there's troubling signs on the horizon. And I want to make sure that we know this time that we've learned from the other experiences. And we're going to be putting together in New York a team of the best minds that look at what happened in Wuhan, look at what happened in Italy on the reopening, and making sure that what we're doing is based on all the science available internationally. And what is the probability, what is the possibility of a second wave happening? What is the possibility of people re-experiencing the virus? There's some reports from South Korea. Let's understand because it's fooled me once. It's one thing to make a mistake once, but this nation should not go through it again. And before we make these decisions, let them be informed by the experiences we're seeing all across the globe. But there's no doubt that what we're doing now is as impactful and as important as anything that has been done. This is a time where our actions literally will determine life and death. I've been in government most of my adult life on many levels, through many circumstances. This is no doubt the most important period for government in my lifetime. There is no doubt about that. The decisions that we make now, also the potential for the decisions we make now. These are big questions, and we should think about them, both in the short term and the long term. How do we reopen? What do we rebuild when we open? How do we do it? Did we learn the lessons from the past? Did we learn the lessons from what we just went through? And are we the better for it? And do we take this moment and make it a moment of positive growth? It's transformational, yes, but are we fully experiencing the reality of what we went through, learning from it, and actually going to be the better for it? And are we doing that as a society, and are we doing that as individuals? I know the pain, I know the pressure, I know everybody wants to get out of the house, and they want to get out of the house tomorrow, and they want me to say, we're going to be reopening the economy in 2 weeks, and we beat the beast. The worst thing that can happen is we make a misstep and we let our emotions get ahead of our logic and fact, and we go through this again in any manner, shape, or form. So that's what we have to do. To all my friends, enjoy this Holy Week. I know it's different. I'm a former altar boy, and this was the hectic, busy week when you were an altar boy. You had Good Friday, Holy Saturday. Tomorrow is Easter. For Christians, Catholics, it's a very high time of the Holy Year, Passover week, to our Jewish brothers and sisters. And it's, to say different, everything has been different, but not going to church, not celebrating, Palm Sunday was last Sunday, not celebrating Good Friday, Holy Saturday, Easter Sunday, is different and hard, but you know that it is the same message, right? Whether you do it from home, whether you do it over a television or through a computer screen, it's the same message. And if anything, that message is more profound during this situation than it normally is. New York paused. We paused. We slowed down. The activity level slowed down. You reflect more. You think more. And I think that's important during this Holy Week. In the meantime, you stay New York tough, which is smart, which is united, which is disciplined, which is loving, and we're going to get through this. Questions?
Governor, Mayor de Blasio canceled school for the rest of the year in New York City today. Can we get a reaction to that? And could that be a precursor of canceling school statewide, do you think?
Yeah, I understand the mayor's position, which is he thinks schools should be canceled for the rest of the year. When we made the decision to close the schools, we made it for the entire metropolitan region. Suffolk, Nassau, New York City, Westchester, Rockland. You can't make a decision just within New York City without coordinating that decision with the whole metropolitan region, because it all works together. So when we decided to close the schools, I spoke to Nassau, I spoke to Suffolk, spoke to New York City, spoke to Westchester, and we closed all the schools at once. Any decision to reopen them will also be a coordinated decision. The mayor has an opinion on New York City. Laura Curran, County Executive of Nassau, will have an opinion on Nassau. Steve Ballone will have an opinion in Suffolk. George Latimer will have an opinion in Westchester. But I want to coordinate all those opinions and reopen them at the same time. I'd also like to ideally coordinate that with Connecticut and New Jersey. So whatever we do all at the same time. So I understand the mayor's position, which is he wants to close them until June. And we may do that, but we're going to do it in a coordinated sense with the other localities. It makes no sense for one locality to take an action that's not coordinated with the others.
Is that action invalid?
Well, that's his opinion, but he didn't close them and he can't open them. It happened on a metropolitan-wide basis, and we'll act on a metropolitan basis, coordinated with Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester. And ideally, I'd like to coordinate with New Jersey and Connecticut if we can. The New Jersey and Connecticut coordination is not a legal matter. It's a mutual basis of interest. Legally, I want the metropolitan area coordinated. I don't want Suffolk doing something that Nassau doesn't do, that New York City doesn't do, that Westchester doesn't do.
But just to clarify for parents in the New York City metropolitan region who have kids in public schools, should they anticipate them going back to school, or is school off?
There has been no decision. That's the mayor's opinion. I value it. I value Laura Curran's opinion, Steve Ballone's opinion, George Latimer's opinion, but the decision will be coordinated among all of them.
Could you please speak to any more specifics about the outreach effort from the
Or
court
just
system?
because, so there has been no decision, Jesse, on the schools. I understand the mayor's position is also businesses will probably open in May. I respect his opinion on opening businesses in May. Again, no decision has been made on whether or not businesses will open. And we're not going to open any businesses in New York City without coordinating it, same as the schools, Nassau, Westchester, Suffolk, and again, hopefully with New Jersey and Connecticut. So there's been no decision on businesses. The mayor's position is they might open in May. I get it. Laura Curran has a position, Steve Ballone has a position. And on schools, the same thing. There's been no decision on schools.
Could you please provide any more specifics on the court's outreach efforts to pro bono lawyers? You know, what services are you wanting them to connect with, and when do you think those services could come on?
Look, you're going to have a host of legal issues that people need help on. You're going to have housing issues. We talk about these government programs. SBA has loans available. Yeah, look at an SBA loan application and tell me how easy it is to fill out. All these federal programs that have been set up. Yeah, but you...
Once again, you were listening live to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's daily COVID-19 briefing. The main takeaways are the curve keeps flattening. That is excellent news. That we are seeing less people being hospitalized for COVID-19. So the main thing is we keep doing this for the next month at least. We have a good shot to lower that number to 0. And the good news is the ICUs are opening up, which is excellent news. Once again, I reported yesterday that Long Island Jewish New Hyde Park is seeing a few, I'm not going to give a number, but a few ICUs opening in that facility, COVID City as they're calling it, which I'm hoping by the end of the month that the New Hyde Park facility that I work in will see less patients. So that is some good news. As far as New York City, you heard clearly, they just asked the question, New York City is closed effective immediately for the remainder of the school year. They are going to be doing online learning. I will mention that there have been reports on the internet recently, and I'll turn off the governor's feed for just a second. We have been getting reports that there have been online hackers who have been infiltrating the Zoom system, not just New York City, but all over New York State and well even up into Connecticut. I even heard that a 15-year-old kid up in Connecticut was messing around, did a YouTube video. He got in trouble. He got charged with 3 crimes. I'm not going to get into it right now, but they are looking, the city of New York specifically right now is looking for a secure method for online learning for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year. As far as graduates are concerned, I don't know how that's going to work out, honestly. I really don't know what the intention is for that. I'm not the one that makes that decision. Thankfully, when I graduated high school in 2013, the only upsetting thing was my senior trip getting canceled because of the weather, but I'm praying for those students that they'll get their diploma, but that's not going to feel... hang on. I'm just checking right now. Yeah, again, I'm texting my friend who lives in Nassau. And I'm trying to reassure her right now that it's up to Laura Curran to make that decision. As you heard the governor just say right now, it's her, it's Steve Ballone, it's George Latimer in Westchester, and I'll mention Rockland County, that's up to Ed Day. So you would think, and this is what surprises me about Rockland, I'm sorry to politicize it, but there are a lot of Democrats in Rockland. How do they have a Republican county executive? See, that baffles me. It's like Suffolk. Suffolk has more Republicans, but yet they have a Democrat who's a county executive. Same with Nassau in a way. That's not the point. The point is, it's up to those elected officials that say, we make that decision, and I'll just plug in the Skype name if anybody wants to join. Just search for me on Skype. That is my Skype name. If anybody wants to call in, more than welcome to. I have Skype open. I'll try to see if I can get that quick. I saw a video on YouTube of de Blasio making the announcement. So I don't want to play de Blasio's full briefing because then that's something that I really do not want to get into, to be honest. But I will check on it in just a second if I can find it. TikTok by Bloomberg. I think that was it. Yes, here we go. Quick take by Bloomberg. They have a video that says, U.S. Surgeon General doubts May reopening. New York deaths slow. Now, again, the good thing is, if we're flattening this curve, and I'm hoping that I'm correct about this, June 7th is the new date that Broadway theaters are going to reopen. Let's just assume that right now, that large crowds can gather on that date. We have testing. The FDA approved something in May, maybe a week before Memorial Day, and they'll say, you can get the home testing kit, blah, blah, blah. And we can get people back to work. They have coronavirus, you stay home, you don't have coronavirus, you can go out, blah, blah, blah. We can assume that. and then maybe some functionality of our normal day-to-day life can return. And I'm hoping that will be the case in this situation. Honestly, I just don't have that answer.
The best case scenario.
So, first of all, shame on de Blasio for having a press conference at 10:30 in the morning. Right? Most people are sleeping in on Saturday. I was sleeping in today because I'm trying to get groceries for my family. And Peapod, Fresh Direct, you can't even order on there right now. Even Target.com, they're not going to deliver on Easter Sunday. They're not. So I have to wait until tomorrow, or hopefully maybe at midnight. I have to hope that I can order food because everything's just uncertain right now. I just can't make an assumption. So I don't want to ramble on anymore. No one's calling in on Skype. So I will mention, if my friend from Suffolk, Rachel, is watching, you can call in as well. If she is watching, I'd love to hear from her right now. Just, again, because she's in a very difficult living situation. I'll just mention it for the record. She goes between two houses. She has her birth dad and then her stepdad. So the only question I like to know is, who is she staying with during this time of uncertainty? And she has a brother, really nice guy. I've known him over the years. I wonder how difficult that has been for someone in her situation, because she is loving and caring, and I would like to get her on the air, but if she is on camera, don't worry, I won't put her on the screen. You'll just hear her audio. I'll have headphones on because I have to let her know that my laptop audio does echo. And trust me, I've had people complain to me, why does your laptop audio echo? It's this microphone. I'm using this mic, and that's what happens. So when I do that, I have to make sure that I put headphones in, which is annoying, but thankfully I don't need them right now. And that's something that I can focus on at least. So I'm going to put the display capture back on for just a second. So I'm going to play you the tape from Bill de Blasio's press conference earlier this morning of him officially announcing that New York City schools are canceled for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year.
We originally said the best case scenario would be to come back on Monday, April 20th, at the end of the spring break. We could see already that was not going to be possible many days ago, and then the state put the pause on to April 29th. But we've had conversations the last few days to say, is it viable? Is it safe? Is it smart? Would it work? Would it help our children? Would it be fair to the entire school community to bring our schools back at this point, at any point between now and the end of June? And after very careful consideration, I announced today that the New York City Public Schools will remain closed for the remainder of this school year. Again, there is nothing easy about this decision. I can't even begin to express how much, for all of us, the goal of making our schools better for all our kids and fighting against the inequalities that were so clear in our school system, that was the first mission in so many ways of this administration, and making sure that kids, including so many kids who have been left behind, got much greater opportunity. That's what we've been so focused on for 6 years. So Lord knows having to tell you that we cannot bring our schools back for the remainder of this school year is painful. But I can also tell you it's the right thing to do. It will help us save lives because it will help us to guarantee that the strategies that have been working, the shelter in place, the social distancing, all the focused strategies that are.
So once again, that was New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio earlier this morning announcing from City Hall that all New York City schools will be shut down effective immediately. They will be closed for the remainder of the 2019-2020 calendar year. It is very sad that I even have to say that because, being honest, if, it's like school. So now you're not going to school for the remainder of this year. That's very uncertain. I don't know how that's going to work in the next couple of months, but I am really hoping that we can at least, I'm praying for a miracle that we can at least reopen the schools in September for a whole new school year. But then the state of New York is going to have to contribute, and they're going to have to figure out, and this is where Cuomo comes in, the state needs relief. The state needs funding. Well, not the state, the city, that is. So it's a very, very difficult situation right now. We just don't have an answer. We're not the ones that just say, "Oh, well, this is the way things will end up." And for Joy Jung's question, honestly, I don't know what's going to happen with your friend's wedding in June. I'm still hoping that my cousin Elizabeth is still going to get married in August. And I'm hoping that my cousin Matthew is going to get married in September. I was looking forward to meeting my new cousin from Florida. I don't know if that's going to happen now. She was going to fly up from the Miami-Dade area. Now I don't even know if that's going to happen. Things are so uncertain right now. Just like how I don't even know if I'm going to Maryland this year. Right now, I am supposed to be getting ready in my condo in Maryland to drive up to take my day trip to Delaware today. I was supposed to be going into Delaware today. Nope, not going to happen. I was going to see what Walmart was looking like the day before Easter. Just to see how things were going to end up. I was going to do tax-free shopping in Delaware today. Nope. Not going to happen. So, we just don't have answers. Now, the only thing I do know right now, no matter what happens, we're still going to have an NFL draft, which is a big sigh of relief at this point because anything sports related will be granted right now. And then I think May 9th we're supposed to get the NFL schedule. Is it May 9th? Let me see. When will the NFL schedule be released? Here we go. Yeah, the NFL schedule will be released no later than Saturday, May 9th. Okay, because I'm still keeping faith that we're going to have football in September. And we know right now there will be no XFL. That's done. They folded. Which really sucks when you think about it. The Guardians were going to have a good second half. They were going to maybe even get in the playoffs. Maybe. Because they benched the original quarterback that was starting in February. That didn't happen. So you just don't know what will happen. And then my friend's birthday in May. I have a friend's birthday coming up on May 5th. She had plans to see her boyfriend and go out on her actual birthday, and I was supposed to the weekend before with all my other friends. You know, I don't know how she's going to feel on her birthday now. I don't know. Again, I'll just say this, you know. I want to call in the Skype number. You're more than welcome to. I don't think we're going to be hearing from Laura Curran until 12:30. Worst case scenario. So I'm thinking I'm going to leave the air. I'm going to monitor News 12 Long Island, and maybe I'll upload a different video today if I hear anything from the Long Island officials. Because normally Laura Curran does speak at 12:30. So I think it's just not worth it to keep this going, I guess. So I think with that, one last question from Joy Jung. Okay. Joy Jung, here's your question about baseball. As far as baseball is concerned, we don't know how this spring training thing will work out. Pretty much what Joy Jung's talking about is that, you know, what will happen with baseball if they're looking into, let's say, having grapefruit, yeah, and Cactus League baseball. I just don't know how that will work out. I don't really have an answer regarding that today. So they want to reconfigure everything. Let me see. Grapefruit League. Let's see. I want to see how this would work out. This is a good question. Yes, okay. It says the league is expected to begin the season without fans in the stadiums. Could be where you have the Grapefruit League in Florida and the Cactus League down in Arizona. There's a possibility that baseball could have the highest TV ratings of all time. I would hope that would be the worst case scenario. Because let's say Kershaw is pitching in LA, he's really pitching in Arizona, or maybe I'm going to watch Odorizzi pitch for the Twins. That would be Cactus League. Now, in the Grapefruit League, obviously I could watch Garrett Cole with the Yankees on my regular Yes Network here in New York. That could be a possibility. And then there's Scherzer pitching in DC, so I have a way to get Masson. I'm trying to see what I could find here. Right, so there are a couple unique options we could look into. Yes, so again, we're looking at a situation where no games will be played until May. I know this for a fact when it comes to basketball. Two things I'll be making an announcement on. One, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said he will be making an announcement sometime in May about basketball. And I'm hoping that maybe we can maybe we can have a summer league where everything resumes. We can get the rest of the NBA schedule in. And then, because I understand LeBron James' point of view is that, you want to finish the regular season. I understand that. But the NBA was thinking of doing a tournament of playoffs. Same in the NHL. Now, I haven't heard anything from hockey. But I will say this regarding WWE. The Royal Farms Arena has announced in Baltimore that Money in the Bank has been canceled. So that we know is guaranteed. Looks like Money in the Bank will be postponed. It's not going to be canceled. They'll just have to maybe look. I mean, eventually you'll see WWE stop working. Eventually. And then when Florida lifts the stay at home, I'm assuming that's when the Performance Center will reopen and then they can tape new content, I guess. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that was an earlier report, so I don't know how that's going to work out. Yes, I want to see the USA Today report. That would be the one I'd look into. I may have to pause the ad blocker on the site. I hate when that happens. Yes, here we go. Okay, so I think I'm going to answer the question for Joy Jung right now. I think he deserves an answer. So, let me give it to him. And that way he does feel reassured in that sense. Let me see if I can get the window capture. Okay, there we go. Grapefruit League. This is how things would work. Grapefruit League North. And I'll zoom in so that way, Joy Jung, if you're having a problem seeing the screen, I'm zooming in so you can at least see it. Okay, here we go. Grapefruit League North. It would be New York Yankees. This thing could stop buffering. That would be great. Okay, New York Yankees, Philadelphia Phillies, Toronto Blue Jays, Detroit Tigers, Pittsburgh Pirates. Okay, in the South Division, for the Grapefruit League, you would have the Boston Red Sox. Oh, okay, so they're Grapefruit. I thought they were in the Cactus League. Alright, because I would at least want to see Odorizzi pitch on MLB TV. Alright, Red Sox, Twins, Braves, Rays, Orioles. Now, I would easily say in that division, the first two, it's Minnesota and then the Yankees. Now, would there be wild cards? I have to assume there'd be wild cards then, because if I were to give wild cards, I would say the easiest picks to give the wild cards would be the Nationals and the Mets, because Houston's going to cheat anyway. Okay, Cactus League. Now, I know the Reds are in the Cactus, because I wanted to see Yasiel Puig, of course, for the Reds. Because I was planning to do 2 games this season, but then I changed my mind and I decided to... See, my original plan was to just ditch the Yankees, go see the Mets Reds, so I can at least see Puig play at Citi Field. And then go to another game at Citi Field later on with Zach Hampel this year, but now that's uncertain. Okay, Cactus League. Northeast. Cubs. Giants. Diamondbacks. Rockies. Athletics. Okay, a shoe-in, I'd have to say Oakland wins that division. Okay, West. Dodgers. Easy pick right there. White Sox. Reds. Indians. Angels. Northwest would be Brewers, Padres, Mariners, Rangers, Royals. Now, again, I don't know how this would work out. Yes, here we go. See, again, that would have to... And then they kept saying, oh, let's play the season in Arizona. Like, I don't know how that would work out. I really don't know how that would work out. Yes. Okay, a postseason tournament with 30 teams. Now, see, that would be... Okay, winner of the Cactus League in Arizona would play the winner of the Grapefruit League in Florida. Right. So again, this is just an experiment. They're not going to say we're doing this, we're doing that. You know, they're just not going to make a decision. They're not going to make a decision based on what are we going to do here. So I wouldn't know, Joy Jung. I wouldn't have an answer for you on that. I wouldn't have an answer. All right, folks. So I think with that, I'm going to wrap up the stream. So I do want to get off the air so that way if Laura Curran comes live, then I could tape it and then upload it to YouTube later on today. So, yeah, keep your notifications turned on. If you're any of my Long Island viewers, just stay tuned because I'm going to see if I can tape today. You know, it'll have to be on the fly like I did yesterday, but it worked out. So that's some good news. So, thank you all for watching. This has been a special report from Andy's Randomness.
This has been an Andy's Randomness special report.